All right, what is up, YouTube? It has been a long time since I picked up a pencil and used my little device here. But today we're not talking about anything educational. Instead, we're going to be talking about the Texas method and the whole reason you fucking picked this video. A lot of people here don't understand the Texas method and it gets a bad rap. Justifiably so, and I think we're going to break this down into sections. Section number one is going to be the OG Texas method, the 3-day version, and the one everybody talks hella crap about, hella shit about because it sucks. Now, why does it suck? It sucks for a lot of reasons, and one of them is recovery mainly, and the other one is that the organization of training in the 3-day cycle is not a good ideal. There's a better way of breaking it down that is actually outlined in Practical Programming for Strength Training, third edition, but that book gets a bad rap nowadays because people like Jordan Feigenbaum, who are pretty fucking strong, have decided to split from starting strength, Margaret Patel, and all that, and try to adopt the use of RPE for everybody. And I have my own disagreements with that after experimenting with RPE myself. So basic gist of the why Texas method, the original 3-day version sucks. The majority of people is that volume day is too much. Takes 2 to 3 hours to do, only one day. Recovery is too little, like percentage wise, and an intensity is too much, and it takes like 2 to 3 hours to do. And we'll describe it all. And Jordan Feigenbaum even goes and talks shit about 531, which is a decent program if you run it correctly, I would argue. And his big push is for RPE, and a lot of people's big push in like powerlifting and strength training is RPE. Listen, in my own experience with RPE, I don't know shit about how I feel. And I'll give this to Rip, and I'll give this to everybody who's against RPE, like Greg Doucette. Like you just have to train harder. And there's the I used to make this video a long time ago where I would defend RP. But looking back at it, I can't tell me, and I've been training for years, and I'm kind of strong. Like my best lift is a 507 deadlift, 462 squat, and a 270 bench. Like there's nothing to sneeze at. But I could not tell you to this day how close I am to failure on a bench press. I just sort of fail. Same thing with a squat. Like I think I'm not gonna come up, and then I come up. In a deadlift, I think I'm not gonna hit it, but I hit it. And I've been trying for the last couple of years to get RPE right. And so after I was kind of plateaued, I was like pissed off with all this shit. So I came back and I said, let me read Practical Programming. Let's start running it. And I'm currently about 6 weeks in. So I'm going to tell you the 3-day version, what I'm currently doing, how I'm going to continue grinding it out after like the initial things stop working and some modifications are made to it. Even like none of this is going to come off to me. A lot of this is coming off from articles I read, people's experiments, videos I've watched, practical programming. I feel like a lot of this stuff people don't research enough. They just find the original T Nation article of Texas Method, do it, obviously fail because it's too much, and then don't adapt it. And because most of you don't read. I know reading's a dead art. Let's talk about it. This video might be long, it might be short. So we have the original pen we can write. What's the 3-day Texas method? This is what everybody talks shit about because it's honestly not the best program. So the 3-day Texas method is squat, then you got bench slash press. So it's not bench press, it's bench and press, and then you have deadlift. So you'll have 5x5 on both these and then 1x5 here. And this is what they call a volume day. And then in the middle of this week, since it's 3 days, you're gonna have a recovery day, and that's also squat. That's 2 sets of 5. Then you have the opposite lift that you did Monday. So let's say on Monday you benched, then Wednesday would be overhead press. And if Monday you overhead press, then Wednesday you would be doing bench. But in essence, it'd be the opposite lift that you did on Monday. So it's bench or press. And you do 3 sets of 5 at an offset of what you did last Monday. And then you would end up doing chin ups, and then you do GHRs, so glute ham raises, or GHRs, glute ham raises. And then your volume intensity day is going to be squat, your lift that you did on Monday, so it's press or bench, and then you have power cleans. Okay. And then these are for 1x5, 1x5. So 1 set of 5. And then the power cleans are normally programmed for 5 sets of 3. Here, so ideally, how this works is that every Friday in this split, so this is Friday, this would be Wednesday, this would be Monday. Every Friday, you set a 5 rep PR. Now, how that works is that you just bust your ass to do it. And like I said in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of things wrong with this method, and we'll get to them really, really simply. For starters, as I alluded to, doing a 5x5 heavy squat session, then a 5x5 heavy OHP or bench press, and on top of that, doing a heavy ass one set of 5 deadlifts. This volume day here could take up to 2 hours. I'm not even joking. 2 hours to 2.5 hours. You will live in the gym right here. This recovery day is based off your Monday's weight. And ideally, it's going to be 80% of what you did on Monday. So M. And that same logic applies to the 3 sets of 5 on press or bench. Now, the only difference is that this is going to be based off your last week since these alternate. And your chins are normally done for 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets for AMRAP or whatever. The chin ups are just there. I don't necessarily think chin ups do shit for your bench. I don't think they do shit for your overpress. I don't think they do shit for your deadlift. They're just there. It's, Mark Rubito's favorite thing to do. I don't think they're worth 3-day Texas method has a lot of issues. But mind you, what people like Feigenbaum or people like will criticize the recovery day for is that it's really lightweight and it doesn't really do anything to cause stress. And in essence, what the Texas method is trying to do, since I bring up stress, is that we'll have a graph essentially like this. And for us, we have a stress adaptation and recovery cycle. Essentially, we need to stress our bodies, and that will be going here. You stress yourself. Then your performance will dip because you're stressed. And then once you recover, you should be able to perform again better. In essence, what the Texas method is doing is that you'll stress yourself with a volume day, you'll recover with this, and then you'll quote unquote be adapted by Friday so you can show your new strength. Give me a second. I need to find, I can just control Z those. So ideally, that's what you're doing on the Texas method. This is your volume day. That's going to be your primary stressor. You recover on Wednesday, hence why it's a light day. And then Friday, you should be recovered enough through that stress adaptation recovery cycle and to express your newfound strength. What I do want to mention is that this takes too long. A lot of people will criticize, going back to the original point, that this day doesn't really do shit. You just really sore off your 5x5 or squats and press and deadlift, that this is really little weight because it's 80% of Mondays and it doesn't do anything. Now, Friday, you will get a little bit of a criticism too because it's one set of five, and 5 sets of 3. You'll get criticism in the power clean because power cleans, I don't think necessarily do shit for your deadlift. And this is coming from a guy who's gotten pretty good at power cleans. I had a whole Olympic lifting section you can see on my channel. My best power clean, I think, was 205. My best clean and jerk was 215. My best snatch was 165, all in pounds. And I don't think they did shit for my deadlift. And I can tell you right now, if you're pulling in the mid 400s, power cleans in like the 100s, if you're forming good, they don't really do things. This is a valid criticism of the 3-day Texas method. Shit, I don't agree with it. How about the 1x5 and 1x5? I actually think these are really good things to have on the intensity day. And we'll get to that in a second. The problem is that most people do this wrong, so they'll burn out on their squats and their bench really, really fast, and they'll have to end up doing singles, triples, and doubles. But we'll get to that. So the 3-day Texas method. What's the issue? Let's summarize. Volume day is too much. 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Recovery day is too light and it doesn't really do anything. It just gets you moving and gets the blood flowing. But it doesn't really do anything to facilitate growth on deadlift, squats, or bench. It's kind of shit. I don't think the recovery day does anything. And then you have Friday, which is intensity day, which does do something. The thing is, most people don't do it correctly, so you'll just grind your faces off until you can't do 5s. And they don't know what to do next when 5 stops working. And in power cleans, as we discussed, don't do real shit for your deadlift. Now, a much better way of doing this would be the 4-day Texas method. The 4-day Texas method is what I consider to be good and actually really adaptable to anybody who's running it. And now the reason this might seem kind of off, and most people would now let me explain this. The reason I think Texas method 4-day works better will be explained in a second. Most people coming off a linear progression program like starting strength, StrongLifts 5x5, Grayskull LP, anything that's 3 days and you're just adding weight to the bar. 3-day Texas method works perfectly. You're going to the gym 3 times, you're getting 3 touches on most of the lifts, and you're getting stronger and your schedule doesn't screw up. Outside of all these downfalls. it's still essence something you can program for someone who's still going to the gym and is relatively new. You could probably get away with this 3-day Texas method if you're early intermediate. By early, I mean like maybe a month. Because I think this progression will grind you to get the end. Now, the advantage to the 4-day Texas method is that we can add assistance work, which is key, and I'll explain that in a second. We can modify the lifts a little bit freely, and your recovery won't be on point, and it takes way less time to do. Now, we'll get to what this is. The 4-day Texas method, you have 4 days, and it's basically an upper lower split. Upper one, lower, upper, and then lower again. Now, how you're going to organize this is up to you. I have my preference. There's other ways of doing this. My personal preference is actually having the volume day be the first 2 days here, and the intensity days being the last 2 days. So essentially, I would do all my volume work here for upper body, all my volume work here for lower body, and in both of these can be intensity. There is setbacks to this. Setback number one, how can you handle the volume? A lot of people cannot handle the volume all in one go. This will fuck you up for days, and you might not be able to recover, and that'll fuck your intensity days up. Totally doable. So you can organize this differently. I like organizing all my volume intensity on one day. But another way people have organized this, and I've seen people get a lot of actual, I've seen people get a lot of actual gains out of this. Eraser. I've seen a lot of people get gains out of this. It's going to be having an intensity day every single day, which would be like in your upper body, you would have an intent. The fuck? Sorry about this, guys. I'm a little rusty. For your upper body, you would have an intensity. So it'd be bench or overhead press. And then you would have a volume bench or overhead press. Same thing with lower body. You'd have an intensity deadlift. And then you would have a volume squat. Over here, you do the opposite intensity first. So let's say you did bench on Monday, then you would do bench on overhead press on Tuesday or Thursday. This would be Monday. This would be Tuesday. So this would be Monday. This would be Tuesday. This would be skip Wednesday, Thursday. This would be Friday. So you have intensity press. Then you would do your volume on bench. Whereas this year was intensity bench. You did your volume on press. Here you could do deadlift, squat, and in your final lower day would be intensity, squat, and your volume pulls. Now, here's the thing with this. Is it a smart way of organizing it? I think it is. Again, if you have issues with recovery, with shoving all the volume in one day, this could be a viable option. Now, the reason I don't like this is because you have to be fucking mentally ready to go into the gym every single fucking day and hit an intensity lift. Personally, that takes too much effort. It's mentally taxing for me. I cannot get in the mindset to hit an intensity lift every single day. It is hard. And this is coming from a guy who competes. This is coming from a guy who literally goes to competitions and does this for fun. Now, hitting an intensity lift is cool, and I think there's benefits to doing it this way. For starters, you won't be destroyed on your volume days, and you'll be amicably recovered for every single lift. The disadvantage to this is that you have to have the right mindset for it. You have to go in there and be ready to hit bench. You have to go in there and hit deadlift. You have to go in there and hit press. So I won't be discussing this format. I didn't want to put it out there. So instead of doing that, we're going to talk about the original version where one upper day is a volume day, one upper day is an intensity day, and how I personally do it to make it work, and how we're going to grind it through and what's going to change. Okay. So upper day number one, how I organize it, and I have my notebook right here. Hopefully you can see it. I am not making any of this up. It comes from my notes. I write all this shit down. Upper day number one is going to be bench. Then it's going to be, you guys are going to get a little confused, and I'm going to get into that. It's going to be press and then close grip bench. And we'll get to the sets and reps in a second. My first lower is going to be squat, stiff leg deadlift, which for me, and we'll discuss if you need stiff legs or not. And then we'll do leg extensions / curls. And I know that is like a sin in starting strength, like touching a machine, but I am going to get to the benefits of that. And then for my upper intensity, it's going to be bench, and then it's going to be press. And then here's something crazy. I have assistance work. It's going to be incline, dumbbell bench, and then we'll have skull crushers, because I think there's benefit to this, slash curls. And then for my lower day, my intensity is going to be squat, deadlift, and then rows. So barbell rows. Let's talk about the sets and let's talk about the reps, and then we'll talk about how this is organized. Okay. For upper number one, it's going to be 5x5 on bench. Then it's going to be 3 sets of 8 on press. Since I am not currently in a powerlifting competition, every week that's going to alternate. Press and bench are going to be alternating lifts. So week 1, bench is 5x5, press is 3x8. Week 2, press is 5x5, bench is 3 sets of 8. Now, for close grip bench, this is going to get kind of funny. We work on a 3-wave cycle, and I got this from Alexander Bromley in his book Base Strength. I think this is actually really intelligent here for getting volume and to work your assistance work, because I think the heavy work needs to be on the competition lifts, and the assistant work can have a wave-like structure so you don't stagnate on those super, super fast. So week 1 is going to be 3 sets of 10. Week 2 is going to be 4 sets of 10. Week 3 is going to be 5 sets of 10. Now, you might be asking me, how the fuck are you going to do that? Here's how you're going to do that. You're going to start with a weight about like 60%, 50%, 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max. You can even have an estimated 1 rep max if you've done doing these lifts before. And week 1, you're going to do 3 sets of 10 at 50 to 60%. Week 2, you're going to do 4 sets of 10 at 60 to 50%. Week 5, you're going to do 50 to 60% of that 1 rep max. You're not adding weight every single week to this lift. You're adding a volume set. And what that'll do is more progressive overload and a different stimulant. Because remember, adding 5 pounds to the bar is key. That's only one way of progressing. Adding a set is also progressive overload. And then once you finish this 3-week wave, then you add 5 pounds. That's how they call it. Bromley in his book calls this volumization. In his book Base Strength, this is volumizing. Volumizing, something like that. In a similar sense, that's how I do my leg curls and leg extensions. I don't do 3 sets of 10, though. I do 3 sets of 15, 4 sets of 15, and then 5 sets of 15. And it's really important to be high reps here because these are assistance. Okay, so closer bench is an assistance exercise. This is like bodybuilding shit. It's not even an assistance. Leg extensions will build bigger quads, which will build a bigger squat. Leg curls will build your hamstrings, and they'll build a bigger deadlift. So you take these as close as you can to failure. Use the same weight every week, then add a little bit. You don't want to stagnate on these. Volumize it. Same thing with incline. I do a similar thing where I go 3 sets of 12, then 4 sets of 12, then 5 sets of 12. Then add 5 pounds to the bar, 12, every single week. And I do the same thing for skull crushers. I feel like if you just add 5 pounds to these baby lifts, they will stagnate. And then these are 3 sets of 12, 4 sets of 12, 5 sets of 12, and then add weight. The extra volume will do you good. Okay, going back, those are your assistance moves. All of those will be volumized. Don't be dumb. They're there for a reason. They're just assistants to trying to keep the bench and the press and the squats and the deadlifts from stagnating on intensity day. And these are light enough weights where you won't get fucked up and you won't get so sore. And if they are, then just alternate, or if they are too heavy, then lower the weight, swallow your pride, and do them lighter. These are just volume. They're just assistants. A lot of people have issues with Texas Method having too little bench press work. And they're right. I mean, if you go back to the original method, you're doing bench like really very little, like maybe twice a week with a little bit of overhead press. If you want to count that as bench volume, we fix it here. We have bench 5x5, press 3x5, close grip bench for up to 50 fucking reps. Then on upper 2, you'll have the intensity day for both bench and overhead. Deadlift, incline for more, and then you'll have skull crushers for triceps. So it's a lot of volume. Now, the logic why I picked these specific exercises because I'm targeting my weak points. And my bench, everybody's known who's watched this channel, my bench suffers from lockout. Like my lockout is trash. Like if I can get it off my chest, I get stuck like halfway. That's because I have some weak ass triceps. How am I going to address that? Well, we're going to hammer the shit out of my triceps in the best way I know how to, and that's close grip bench, high reps, high hypertrophy. bigger triceps, bigger bench. Get it? Same thing with dumbbell incline. I don't know if my triceps they need more work. Will incline and help, and also help my chest get upper chest intensity, more bigger chest, bigger triceps, bigger bench. You see, that's the big issue in Texas method. You're getting a lot of reps extra on bench that you need in order to continue making progress. And that's not counting the assistance work on overhead press for bigger triceps. How about skull crushers? The same idea. They're there for tricep work. And curls are just there to fill out your arms. I think there's merit in having bigger arms in general for a bigger bench press. So let's go with the logic again. How about deadlift? Why stiff leg? My suggestion is you do 3 sets of 5. Anything more than that, you will be like dead. The first couple of weeks of me running this shit, I tried 4 sets of 5. By like week 2, I was like, fuck that. A squat, obviously 5x5. To stiff leg deadlifts, I think it's such a fundamental movement. You don't have to volumize it. I think this is good. You add 5 pounds every single week. And I pick stiff leg deadlifts in specific because my hamstrings and my deadlift are weak. And how do you know what you're weak off deadlift? If you're weak off the floor, do deficits instead of stiff legs. If you're weak off the floor, you can also do pauses. If you're weak on mid shin, do stiff-legged deadlifts. That is normally a sign of weak ass hamstrings. And I have some weak ass hamstrings. My deadlifts always fail at mid shin. So better, bigger hamstrings, stiff leg deadlifts. You could also do RDLs if you have that. But I just personally feel like there's a better transfer of stiff legs to start off the floor versus RDL starting in the high. Leg extensions and leg curls, same idea. Bigger quads, bigger squats. Leg curls, again, because my stiff legs not stiff legs. I mean, stiff legs are hitting the hamstrings, and I need more hamstrings. Hamstrings, bigger deadlift. That's the logic with the curls. So you have your basic moves here. Now for your intensity days, this is key. You can run this at least once. It's called running it out. So the running it out method will only work one time. And that's going for your intensity days, 1 set of heavy 5s, then 2 sets of tree, then you get 3 sets of 2, and then you get 5 heavy ass singles. And you will know when to change. Here's a note on this. That is for your intensity days. That is your reps and set schemes. You can probably get away with heavy ass 5s for like 4 to 8 weeks, depending how high you start. Then you can get away with triples for like 3 to 6 weeks. The closer, so this would be like 5 rep maxes. This would be for 3 rep maxes. And then you can probably get away with 3 doubles for a little less, maybe 1 to 3 weeks. They go down. Trust me, because you're getting really, really close to your max. This will be for doubles. I just call them rep maxes. And then finally, you can probably get away for head 5 singles for like, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, honestly, before you want to. So how you do this is that you would grind these suckers to the floor and you keep adding weight and adding weight and adding weight. And then eventually you can't add weight to your 5 sets of 5 anymore, or you can't add weight to your 1 set of 5. So you have to go to triples. But listen to when I say this, and I didn't get this myself. I actually printed this sheet out from Paul Horn, and this dude is a straight up genius when it comes to this. Because when you're running out the intensity day, you have to keep volume in check. Because if not, volume. Let me highlight some things. This 5x5, this 3 sets of 5, this 3 sets of 8. The minute this 1 set of 5 becomes a triple, this weight needs to be adjusted. And I didn't get these numbers myself. So let's go down. Excuse me, guys. So let's go down. So for heavy sets of 5 on your intensity day, you want to be doing, so this is intensity day. This will be volume day. Your offset for your 5x5 is going to be 90%. Now, again, I didn't get these numbers. This is Paul Horn, starting strength coach. I really like this, and I see a lot of people haven't seen this video. For intensity day, the minute you drop to 2 triples, you need to adjust your volume. If not, you will kill yourself because you cannot continuously add volume and expect to be fresh for intensity day. Remember, the whole point of this program is to make PRs every Friday. In this case, it'd be every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you would adjust the volume to 85% for 5x5 or 5x5. And then when you get to doubles, so 3 sets of 2, adjust that to 80% or 82.5, excuse me, 82.5%. And then once you get to singles, 5 singles, you want to make that 80%. This would be this here. Don't be dumb like me. 85, 82.5. 82.5%. So keep in mind, now let's scroll back up. These are associated, and this volume day is the weights for this. Now for your press, you can probably use the similar offset. If you get stagnated, reset. Keep in mind, the minute you go up in one of these, you have to adjust volume. The whole point of this program is to get as strong as you can on Friday. And that's how we're setting it up. I just want to have a keynote here. Everything's getting messy, but barbell rows would be 4 sets of 10. Your squats here and everything. So let's change the color here to green. So for squat, deadlift, bench, and press intensity days, you're following this scheme here. You're running it out. Heavy set of 5, heavy set of 3, heavy set of doubles, heavy singles. And then your volume days need to be adjusted to these percentages here the minute you go from 5s to 3s to 2s to 1s. This is called running it out. What I do want to stress here is that this is a lot of work. Like, look at all this volume on Monday and Tuesday. This shit's going to suck. It's not easy, but it works. I actually this last week hit a 375 squat, which isn't my best. My best ever is 405 by 5, but surprisingly easy. I hit the first PR in deadlifts in years with 455 pounds for a set of 5. And I hit a PR in bench, actually, my biggest PR in terms of reps. My best rep PR for fives. I've done 240 for triples. My best 5 before this was 220. My best 5 this week was 220, 222.5. It's just gonna keep going. I'm still in the 5s. I'm about to drop the triples for a deadlift and then follow this scheme. So what do you do when running it out doesn't work? This is part 3. This is called cyclical Texas method. Just keep in mind, guys, this is what I showed here. This is the 4-day Texas method that will work one time. Most people, after this happens once and you run it out, that's it. So what happens next is actually the cyclical Texas method. So the same idea here. I advocate for a 4-day split because you'll have assistance moves that keep you fresh. And it'll be the same idea. So it'll be upper 1, lower, upper, lower. Okay. This said, remember, this will be your volume because they're going to keep it consistent. In my case, 2 volume days. So it would be volume. So it'd be your bench, your press, and just for shits and giggles, I'm not going to write out the assistance. This is just assistance. Pick 2 to 3 favorites. Be smart about them. Don't be dumb. Remember, 5 by 5, 3 by 8, alternates. Squat. I'm going to put stiff-legged deadlift, but remember, these you can change out that assistance. 5 by 5. This can be 3 by 5. Assistance. Okay, so intensity day squat. So I'm going to put intensity day squat, or excuse me, intensity day bench, intensity day press, assistance, and assistance. I can leave it at that, and that would be funny. And then you have intensity day squat, intensity day deadlift, assistance. Okay, we're going to tackle these individually. The cyclical method. Oh, fuck. The cyclical method is a way to break this down where every week you do not hit the same thing every single time because you can only run it out once. So how it'll work for your intensity day specifically. So this is how it'll work in a cyclical method. Your intensity day will work in waves, a 3-week wave. Week 1 will be a heavy triple. And at this point, depending how strong you are, it could be 1 set of triples or 2 sets of triples. It's up to you. So it's a heavy triple, 1 to 2 sets. Week 2 is a heavy set of 2, so doubles. Up to you if you do 1 set or 2. Week 3 will be 5 heavy singles. This is one example. You could also do it this way, where you could do 1 heavy set of 6, 1 heavy set of 4, 1 heavy set of 2. You could do it this way too. 1 heavy set of 5, 1 heavy set of 3, 1 heavy set of 1. You can vary the rep schemes. Triples, doubles, singles is just one way to run the cyclical method. 6s, 4s, and 2s is another way. 5s, 3s, 1s. Kind of cool, right? Now, the main key here is that every single week, you're not hitting a triple. You're hitting a triple, double, single. So a smart way you can pick your starting weights is that you'll go to your training log and you'll realize, hey, bro, my last triple that I did ever was like 350. Let's just say a magical number. My best triple on bench was like 350. So after you ran the Texas method, you found a new 1 rep max, and you start the cyclical intensity day, you'll pick up where you left off. If your last best triple was 350, you're going to start at 355. And in week 2, since it's a double, not a triple, you'll add 10 pounds of that shit and be 365. And in week 3, since it's singles instead of doubles, you add another 10 pounds, 375. And then every other week, you add 5 pounds to every one of these. So this will be week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 would be triples at 350 or 360, and then doubles at 370, and then singles at 380, etc., etc., etc. Now keep in mind. Now keep this in mind. This will not work indefinitely. Nothing does, sadly. And I do want to stress here, that's how you're going to handle your intensity day in weekly cycles. How about volume day? So for volume day, when you're doing the cyclical method, it's still going to be 5x5s. Here, the offset thing doesn't really work with the percentages, but I do want to say that if you're going to do a big offset, start light. In practical programming for strength training, your offset is 80 to 90% of Monday or intensity day. Most people, early intermediates, can get away with this. At this point, you are not an early intermediate. Don't be dumb. Don't be a superhero. Start at 80%. Then continually add weight. And when you get to a point where the heavy ass 5x5 is just too heavy, don't be afraid to reset the weight. Or drop 5x5s to 4 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 5 and continue adding weight. Remember, you're no longer a novice. This is a very different stimulus. If you want to keep driving intensity up on volume day, volume has to come down, just logically. Or you just reset on the volume. But I suggest you start at 80% of your intensity day and you'll be okay. So intensity day of 5s, don't use your heavy triple as an 80%. Go to your notebook, do some rough math. If you have a new 1 rep max, take 70% of your 1 rep max for 5x5. That's a good starting point. 70% of 1 RM for your 5x5. And then go from there. You could use 80% of your 5s, 70% of your 5x5 for the bench and squat. The cyclical method will not work forever. It's actually described in practical programming as well, where eventually you can have something called dynamic effort. And dynamic effort is moving slow weight or lightweight really, really fast. How much you get out of that is up to you. But the basic gist of it is that you'll also have a 4-day split, upper, lower, upper, lower. And from that basic split, you're going to have your 5x5s, 5x5s. So your volume day for upper and lower. Now, when you write bench and press, you get the point. Instead of intensity day, you're going to have dynamic effort, which for bench could be 10 sets of 3 reps at like a wave-like structure. Well, it'll be 60, 65, 75% of your 1 rep max. And then for your lowers, mainly for squats, I don't really use this for deadlifts, you would be squatting at light weights, again, at 60, 65, 70, at like 10 sets of 2. In essence, how you'd run this is that these are dynamic efforts. Dynamic efforts are light weights moved really, really fast. You would do every minute on the minute, you would do 3 reps on bench. Every minute on the minute, you would do 3 reps on squats. You could do this on overhead press and deadlift too. I don't think there's a purpose on those. I think a smarter way of doing the deadlift personally would be not dynamic effort. You would alternate it. So after your squats 10x2, what you would do is probably heavy rack pull, a heavy deficit deadlift, and then a deadlift in a rotation. So you would do a heavy 5 rep max, a heavy 5 rep max, a heavy 5 rep max, and then after your dynamic effort squats, you would do through You would go to deadlifts, so it would be a rack pull week 1, a deficit deadlift week 2, or a deadlift week 3, and just keep continuously doing that. And then the rack pull and deficit will make your regular deadlift continuously go up. You won't get stuck. I don't think there's merit in dynamic effort work for deadlifts. I think it's kind of useless. For bench and for squat, if you're strong enough, this can be a good volume. And the purpose of these guys is that the percentages will always stay the same. And the weight on the bar, it's up to you. If 60, 70, and 60, 65, and 70 feel good, you could, in theory, never add weight to these waves. And the rationale is that these are just literally there to drive your 5x5 higher and higher and higher and higher. So once you get to a point where you can no longer add 5x5 here, what'll happen here is that instead of this, we'll just do upper, lower, is that you'll use your dynamic effort as your volume day. So this would be dynamic effort, bench, and press for your 10 sets, 3 reps, really, really fast. This would be dynamic effort squats, your volume pull. And then again, this would be 10 sets of 3 or 2. This would be 10 sets of 3. And remember the percentages here, since they're going to be your main volume for your intensity day, these are going to be a little bit higher. This would be 65, 70, 75 for both of these. And those are good numbers. And again, these weights don't need to continuously go up. These are just there to drive your intensity day. For your intensity days, upper and lower, you can do the cyclical method if you're preparing for meets, like we described in section 3, where you're doing triples, doubles, singles. And then your volume day would be this dynamic effort. And then your intensity day would be triples, doubles, singles, triples, doubles, singles, until you can no longer do that. And then literally go for a 1 rep max and restart the entire program. And these can be like a little mini program. These are just ways you can think about it. In essence, very, very intelligent. So let's recap. 3-day Texas method, complete dog shit. 4-day Texas method and running it out. Well, actually really, really smart. And I want to stress that it's a good program. Cyclical Texas method, a great way to continue doing this after you've run it out. And in a way that's intelligent. Like you'll not be hitting 5s every fucking Friday. And most people can't do that for more than like one run through. Section 4, when you're really, really strong and you want to continue using this as a template, incorporating dynamic effort. I haven't done this personally myself, but I have a plan, and that's kind of the plan I'm going to follow. For dynamic effort, I'm doing this, and I am going to do this pretty soon based on my training log. This, I am not 100% sure if I believe in the dynamic effort myself, but I think after I grind out the cyclical method in a couple weeks, then this will be it. Here are a couple notes that I do want to say, extra notes that a lot of people need to understand. You need to sleep at least 8 hours a day. You need to eat. You can't survive this without eating. And buy yourself micro plates. Why would you buy micro plates? I'm talking like 1 pound plates, 0.5 pound plates. The reason you would do that is that bench and press cannot continuously go up 5 pounds a week. It's just impossible. So instead, you're going to go up 2.5 pounds a week. So week 1 intensity day will be 220. Week 2 will be 222.5, etc. This is the best way to milk it. Your upper body muscles are much smaller than your lower body. Upper body needs 2.5 pound jumps. Lower body can probably handle 5 pound jumps every week on intensity and volume. This is my suggestion for intensity and volume for bench and press. Anyways, I felt like I wanted to get my thoughts out there. Most of you don't understand Texas method. Most of you don't read practical programming. Most of you don't have a framework. This is the starting framework I would go with. This 4-day Texas you see on the screen here. All of this you can copy. Be free to change stuff. I know Rip gets mad when people are adding shit and changing stuff, but that's the whole point. The intelligent part of practical programming was written by Andy Baker, and you can tell there's a tone shift when you read chapters 1 through 6, and then you get to chapter 7. Like the book literally has a tone shift, and you can tell the author has changed. Chapter 8, I think, is about the advanced lifter. It's somebody else writing. It's not Rip. So feel free to change it. Feel free to take things that work, modify it, do the 4-day version. This is the most misunderstood program in the world, the most hated program in the world because it's hard. And Maybe after you do the cyclical method and after you run it through, then you can experiment with RPE. Once you know what the hell RPE 10 is. I wasted a lot of my years doing RPE. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. And I feel like if I would have started here with this fundamental understanding, I would have gotten a lot stronger. I mean, I'm hitting PRs for the first time in years. Literally. I've never in my life hit 455 for reps, and I did it last Friday, man. So here to go. Let me know how it goes. Peace.